Maybe he getting everything?
Might have been what happened. Mouse got in.
He got thrown out.
Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, please.
Council workshop meeting, Monday, March 2nd, 2020, 6 PM. Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark?
Aye.
Patke? Pettit?
Here.
Scornia?
Here.
Sullentrup?
Here.
Wessels?
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Will all the committee members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the meeting dated February 3rd, 2020? Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark?
Aye.
Pettit?
Yes.
Scornia?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Wessels?
Having read the minutes, are there any comments or questions?
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Heidrich, to approve the minutes from our last meeting dated February 3rd, 2020. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the minutes. Thank you.
Report of department heads, engineering, Jefferson Street roadway and ADA compliance project.
Good evening, council. Two projects here. The engineering department was able to get two grants, East-West Gateway grants, last year's funding cycle to do some projects specifically on Jefferson Street and Westlink Drive. These two projects did incorporate our ADA transition plan, which I do believe did allow us to be successful in getting those grants. So I know I keep preaching on that, but we're kind of a big fish in a small pond when it comes to that, and it allows us to get more points to get as much money back from the feds as possible. This project is at 80/20. It's projected to be constructed in summer of 2023. It's approximately $1.5 million. What it is it's a reconstruction of Jefferson Street, essentially asphalt overlay from Highway 100 all the way to 5th Street. New sidewalk, new curb and gutter on both sides, and then a sidewalk extension to 14th Street and then Highway 100 as well. So again, the concept there is if anytime you can add to your sidewalk network, it does make you more successful in getting those asphalt projects. And it does connect, again, kind of the 14th Street project with our downtown walking facilities. And I briefed you on this, I think, whenever we went for the grant. And what this is just the agreement with MoDOT to kind of start the process. So after this gets done, we will be looking to get a consultant for that project. It's a pretty large project that we felt would be wise to do. The second one, Westlink Drive, similar project. It is an overlay from West Main to Bluff Road. We're also going to be improving the turn lane from Westlink onto Bluff Road. So if you know, it's kind of a skewed kind of turn. We're not necessarily adding a turn lane, just more improving the turning geometrics on that. So we'll be doing that project in-house, though. That's a pretty straightforward mill and fill type project. Would require some right-of-way work, but we feel pretty confident we can get that taken care of. Again, that's a summer 2023 project. So two good projects, 20 cents on the dollar, and we're basically these are the agreements with MoDOT first step.
Any questions or comments?
How far out is High Street?
High Street, we're trying to get done this summer yet, late summer. MoDOT, we work back and forth with MoDOT. We're working through the right-of-way process right now, reaching out to the property owners, those type of things. I'm not aware of any issues with that, with sidewalks and things, but we're trying to get it done late this summer. If it has to go out till next spring, it'll have to go out till next spring. We'll just have to limp it through one more winter time. It's in rough shape.
Yeah.
That's what you do with streets. You maximize your tax dollars as much as you can. So we'll get through it.
All right. Cool. Thank you. No other questions? I'll make a motion, send it on to council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Obermark, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank you.
While I'm up here, I'll give you a briefing. Our local streets, so the ones that are not eligible for STP funding, we have $550,000, I think, left in that budget. We're going to be looking at doing some, I'm going to fix this situation here at Lafayette and 4th Street, that bump right there. When we put that in, we didn't have a mill mobilized, an asphalt mill. There just wasn't one on the job. And the mobilized one would have been $10,000. I didn't see the point of doing so. So I just figured we could take care of it this spring. So we'll do that intersection. We may take care of one block, kind of finish up the sidewalks to tie Oak and Lafayette together, and then just do one block of paving here. And then we're right now in the process of grading the streets. Fair Street on the west end of town was one that was done in 2006. It's probably the poorest condition one in town. I know maybe people don't get over in that direction too much, but that's what my inspectors are telling me. I am in the process of riding around town looking at them, so I hope to get that done this week. And then we'll come forth with a project and get that done this summer.
Still doing the project over here? Parking lot?
Yes, the parking lot project. Yes, it is. I have not done anything with it in a while, but yes, the plan is to get that parking lot paved. And sooner than later, for sure. There's a lot of changes with the Waterworks building. We were going to package a couple parking lots up, and with the change in direction on the Waterworks, they kind of split it up just a little bit. So I'm still trying to decide if we want to do that in-house with our own people paving, or if we want to contract that out.
Were there going to be steps from that lot up to this lot, or what's the plan on
Yeah,
that?
initially there were.
Yeah.
There were a set of steps. When we bid that late summer, early fall last year, the bids actually came in quite a bit higher than what I anticipated. So we switched gears, that we were going to pave it ourselves, which we would not have put the steps in ourselves. It may go back to that. I haven't really,
Yeah, just
I
curious.
really haven't thought about it to put forth. You could pave it without steps. You can add steps at a later date if you had to. But,
Okay, just
but
curious.
there is value to having steps there. I don't disagree with that. So,
Any other questions of John? Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Police, purchase of 3 patrol vehicles.
Evening, Council. Yeah, before you, request to purchase 3 patrol vehicles, the 2020 Ford Police Pursuit Vehicles Utilities. Total cost is $121,206 from Lou Fuse. We also received a bid from Joe Mockins, which was $700 cheaper. But Joe Mockins doesn't provide a vendor for putting in equipment or purchasing equipment. Lou Fuse has a vendor they regularly use. We've had a long-standing relationship with them, and we get some good discounts by going through their vendor. So it would save, I think we'd break even or save money by doing that. The budget has $156,000 in it for new vehicles. So that'll leave us $35,000 left. That will be used for upfitting the vehicles, about $10,000 a car. So I would request approval for that purchase. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments?
Chief, have we looked into, I know Franklin County's using those Dodge Durangos now, I guess, a
Yes.
lot of those. Have we looked into any pricing or what comparison?
There's a state bid on that. These base prices, I think I put in there is $33,783. That's the base pricing without the normal upgrades that we get when we order a vehicle. Every year, when we order the vehicle, we always have upgrades that we ask for. This year, there's a couple new things that came out. The perimeter security for officers, so when you approach a vehicle, an alarm goes off, they know somebody's coming, locks the doors. The other one is a light package on the back to make it more visible from the rear when you raise that door or even when it's down. So those is what increased the price. If you look at Durango, from what I remember, it's about the same. There's not a big price difference. It's not. I think Durango's maybe just little bit more, but
They're what?
maybe just a little bit more.
I didn't know if we ever looked into that or,
I've looked at them.
yeah.
Right now, the equipment we have is for the Fords. So our plan is to take the ones we're decommissioning with these 3 new ones, take equipment off of them that's on them, and put that equipment on the new ones to save some expense. Like the screens for the prisoner cages, light bars, things like that, which would save us money. If we go to Durango's, that's all.
Yeah, that wouldn't
all
fit.
items. Yeah.
Right.
So with the equipment, it's about 60,000 vehicle?
Equipment,
With the equipment?
so you had 10 plus 40, so 51,000.
And it says in here you skipped a year last year or something?
Yes, we went, because of budgeting, trying to work with the city to keep a good budget, healthy budget. We've, didn't purchase some cars some years, we purchased only 2 one year. So the past 3 years, we purchased 4 cars where we would have purchased 6. And some of those cars were used cars, they weren't new cars. But we also are running then more mileage on the vehicles. 2 of these vehicles we're replacing have 80,000 miles or more.
Just the second round of the Interceptors?
We've got Interceptors since 2015.
And these are the ones we're replacing?
These 2015s are the ones we're replacing, yes. This is the first replacement
Yeah,
of
so
the
it's
Interceptors, as you.
first replacement of the Interceptors.
Make a motion, send it on to council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Pettit, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent the item on. Thank you.
Purchase of video cameras for public safety building.
This is the third and final part of a project at the Public Safety Building to improve security and the security camera system. The first part was when the booking room was upgraded and electrical was redone in there. The second part you've approved, which is the Echo Camp Electric contract to rewire and pull old wiring from the entire building. Because new cameras require a higher grade wiring, CAD 6, because of the newer cameras and the definition they get into. You can't take the old wiring we have now there and plug it into a new camera and it won't work. So that's you've already approved. So this is the final part of that, which is the purchase of all the new cameras for the building, which includes the jail, the interior evidence, interview cells, and then the exterior of the building. And we're going through NOC. They're our vendor or city IT department. They know how everything operates within the city. They work with it. They do the software up on it. They do maintenance for us. In my opinion, it'd be silly to have someone else come outside and do it when they do all that for us now already. They handle it.
Any questions or comments?
The different style of cameras, these cameras for the cells will be globe cameras. We have to have them globe so they're covered for those people that want to try and break things, can't break them. The other cameras set out and about will be a different camera. And with the ability, with what's going on in the city with connectivity with the cameras, we'll be able to connect the system to an officer so that he can view in his car from the mobile data terminal and view every camera in the city, not just the police department, or his cell phone, and also view the cells to check on prisoners. So we'd have a policy, if you view and they're moving around, we have to check prisoners every hour. If we view it and they're in the car, we see them moving around, that's a check. If they're not moving, then we go inside and see that they're okay. It also is good for watching to see if there's any problem in booking or to see what's going on in booking. Citywide, it'll help us if we're getting a call to a certain place and there's a camera. Officers might be able to see if there's anything going on before they get there. So, but that's separate from this.
Chief, what's the timeline, once assuming we pass it on and,
They have cameras. The Echo Camp's ready to go.
great.
So it's going to cause a little bit of disruption. We'll shut down the jail while we install cameras there, bring it back up. Prisoners will be held at county, and then it'll be in phases to put cameras out and keep them on.
Has Echo Camp started their project yet?
No, because they're waiting for the cameras, because that all needs to go in at the same time. And they realized before, they were the only one that would touch the electrical for this because of the electronics room and all that's involved.
Okay, very good. So, do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Need your
to send it.
approval.
Send it on to council.
Okay, we have a motion by Pettit, seconded by Overmark, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank you.
Just another tidbit information is the quality of video will improve greatly. And when we talk interviews, that's key. And the sound will also be better for interview rooms when we're taking confessions from people. So,
Sounds good.
thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief.
Library, NOC Technology Managed Services Agreement.
Nelson?
Good evening, Council.
Nelson?
Hi. You have before you a contract of, $39,600, and that is a budgeted amount. What's different here is we held off on signing the contract because we wanted to make sure we were eligible for federal discounts for rural libraries and rural schools to get, reduced rates on our internet access. So we went out and followed the federal bidding process, got 5 responses. NOC met 2 requirements. They were the low bidder, so it makes it easy. And they also were a preferred solution to have internet and the management of our PCs with one single vendor, just for ease of use and ease of relationship. The bottom line here is this budget amount now at $39,600, and the contract there, $10,000 of that is designated as for how much the internet access would cost. And once we have a signed contract here in March 25th is the due date, we'll have to submit that to the federal authorities, who will determine how much of a discount we will get. In the past, we were going through Morenet, and they did all this work that I'm doing here. They did that for us, and we just signed a piece of paper, and the discount we were getting there was somewhere in the range of $6,000 per year. It changes every year based on whatever formula they use, which I'm not privy to.
Okay.
Who was your bidders?
Bidders, we had the big ones: Sprint, AT&T, Broad, something. Yeah, some out-of-state vendor I'd never heard of before came in, and that was the high bid. They had to spend $40,000 to build out the system,
Okay.
and then NOC.
Any questions or comments?
This is the 1 year?
Well, this will be, so for the federal, for the federal E-rates, you have to have an end date, 3 or 5 years. So we put 5 years in the contract, which means for the next 5 years, instead of doing this bidding every year, we'll do it in 5 years. And I will have to go through about this time every year during the open period and resubmit the federal Form 471 for the E-rates discount. For each year, I'll have to do that. But once we do this, we'll have 5 years before we have to do the bidding again.
Will this price be locked in for 5 years, or did every year got to come up with an increase?
This price, John at NOC was committed to this price for 5 years, yeah. He said he didn't envision increasing it, so he was comfortable with this.
I'll make
Anything
a
else?
motion. Send that on the council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Pettit, seconded by Holtmeyer, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nelson.
Any other department heads?
Is there anyone else?
Good evening. I just wanted to give a brief report on our outdoor warning sirens. The order for those have been placed, and that was placed on the 24th of February. Delivery date is 8 to 12 weeks. The vendor was out last week, visited all the sites, came up with a plan, worked with Public Works, so we have a plan in place to get those installed. So just a little update on that.
Very good. Thank you. Tim?
Good evening, council. We did an end-of-year report, got it out in mid-February. I don't know if it made your packet. I apologize for that. We'll get it forwarded to you. Just a couple of highlights of it. Ran 691 responses last year, up from 2018 of 675. Overall, the city responses were up. We did 393 responses within the city limits. Out in the district, we were down a few responses overall. Requested mutual aid 7 times and provided mutual aid 67 times to our neighbors. Got a number of very large projects done, put a new heavy rescue in service. That truck will be here at the April council meeting, so next month it'll be here with a crew, as well as the new turnout gear. We'll demonstrate that prior to the operations meeting. They'll be out there before the 6 p.m. Also, our new SCBA are here as well. They're in service, and those will be on display that evening as well. The district completed their new engine. That engine was delivered back to the vendor on Saturday, so we'll be putting that in service here shortly. Working on a communications project, joint effort through the police department, communications department, emergency management, and we're moving forward on that. 5,150 hours of training last year by our members. Did over 9,800 hours of responses and non-training activities, so about 10,000 hours of responses there. Number of fires actually increased. Went from 2 fires in the city to 8, and out in the district went from 2 to 4. So we ran 12 fires. The one busy day, we ran 2 commercial fires back to back, one on the east end of town. The other one was at Arconic, was a titanium fire. Ran a number of instances at titanium at Arconic last year. And the other issues we were seeing is improperly disposed smoking material and electrical issues is what we had last year. We did have one incendiary fire in the district. Unfortunately, there's no way to prove who or how it was lit, but it was a fire off of Dundee Road. But it shows a continued need for prevention, fire safety education, and code enforcement. Did a number of safety talks throughout the year and continue to plan to do that. We will be having an open house with a movie day at the fire station in the next month or so, so look out for that coming up pretty quick. Monday and Fridays were our 2 busiest days with a lot of responses there. We did over 67% of our calls. Someone was there within 5 minutes. So we typically use that, where else can you dial 3 numbers, answer 2 questions in 5 minutes, somebody's number knocking on your door. 2/3 of the time that is actually fact. Our slowest period is 2 a.m. to 4 a.m., thankfully, so we do get to sleep between 2 and 4 most of the time. We are averaging 11 members per call, so we're basically 2 engine companies. So we are still having that maintain of that two engine company response plus another additional officer. So we're doing quite well. Membership's up. We had 8 new people go through Firefighter 1 and 2 certification last year. So we're glad to see that. And our applications continue to come in, which is a very positive thing. We're always looking for more, but right now we're doing very well, and we're bucking the national trend of the decreasing in volunteerism.
What's the total you have now?
That's a great question. I think we're at 77, I think. I could be off 1 or 2. Could be 75, 77, something like that. Active firefighter, interior structure guys that are I would consider the active guys. We have a core of about 35 really active people, and then there's another layer that kind of fall in on the support role behind that. So we got 35 really active people.
That's great.
Are some of those new members folks that have gone through you guys had some training, or it wasn't really Explorer, or was it? You had did some
program.
camp or?
Yeah, the cadet program.
Yeah.
I think we got 3 or 4 out of that now.
That's good.
The Borgia class of 2019, I think we picked up 6 kids out of that class. So we've got right now, the 2 of them are back home, the other 4 are at school. So in May, we got to get booking on training because those guys are going to want to do a lot of training. They're already starting to bug me about it. 3 or 4 of them were home this past weekend. We ran a couple of calls, so 2 o'clock in the morning, it was nothing to get trucks out and get people on the scene. So those young guys are very aggressive and very active and very hungry.
Good.
So.
I'm sorry, Mark. Did you have?
No, I was just going to ask, Chief, you said you have approximately 11 respond on calls.
An average of 11.
Is that, in your opinion, is that a high number, low number, right where it should be?
There are departments that would die to have what we have. There, a typical department on a vehicle accident, for example, if we get 10 guys, a typical county department, a Franklin or St. Louis, they'll get 3 to 5. So that's what they're getting. And that doesn't include the ambulance district. The ambulance district's bringing 2 or 3 people themselves. So any other department around us would love to have it. We have a typical first alarm fire. It's not uncommon, 25 to 30 people showing up at a working structure fire. So it's awesome. That's fantastic. That's what we need to maintain, and we're always looking for more, more hands lighting the load. So, but we got a very good group, and we're making a lot of inroads and strides. So very positive momentum right now.
Tim, when will the report be finalized?
It was sent up to you
Gotcha.
February 14th.
Okay. I didn't know when you wanted to present it to these.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm sorry if you didn't get it.
No.
That may have been my fault not getting it to you.
That's fine. I just wanted to know when you wanted to go ahead, because I think they'd like to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I got it somewhere.
Yeah.
I think you
my
sent it to
apologies
me
for
as
not getting
well.
out to
I think
you.
you sent it
No,
to
that's
me
fine.
as well.
We'll work on our communications. That was a topic that came up today.
Under the broken coupling or whatever it is.
Loose coupling?
Yeah.
Loose coupling, yeah.
I got it. I know, I read it.
Any other
It was very
questions?
good. It was very good. I saw it, and it was very good.
Excellent. All right, thank you.
Keep a good
Thank you, Tim. Oh, Mark made it. You made it.
Good evening, council. 2 weeks after Councilman Solontrup's question last month about flooding, the National Weather Service rolled out their spring flood outlook. John Nilgis and myself sat in on the webinar, so we have just a little bit of information for you. Thank you. Thank you. So, bottom line up front, executive summary, if you will. Mississippi River is predicted to be the worst this year. A little bit like it was last year. The northern part of the Missouri, northern part of the state saw a lot of flooding on the Missouri, but the Mississippi was pretty bad. They believe, remember these are predictions, they believe this year the Mississippi is going to be worse than the Missouri. Illinois, minor flooding, and then the local tributaries, above average risk, but they believe that's just going to be minor flooding. If you look at the 2019, that is the rain for last year of 2019, you see it's awfully red there, particularly a little south of us, but Missouri and Illinois were whacked pretty good with rain, and eastern Kansas, so no big surprise there. Then here you look at above normal rainfall for the year, so you see why the Mississippi and the Missouri rivers there was so much flooding on them last year. You look at the blue, there's an awful lot of blue, so deeply above normal rainfall for the year 2019. So 2019, remember that's the last few months too that we're still dealing with here. So like Gavin's Point Dam is still dumping. Look today, they're still dumping 38,000 cubic feet a second. Bagnell Dam is still dumping 25 to 28,000 cubic feet a second. So, you put those together, that's approximately 6 or 7 feet of water that they're dropping down right now. So that they're still trying to, empty the reservoirs. This is the amount of moisture in the soil. And you see right over the top of us, it's 99%. Once again, no big surprise. You go outside, right now, every drop of rainfall that falls, basically runs off. No big surprise. The big flash flood event we had back in August, we had 3.29 inches of rain in 3 hours, and the Missouri went up about 4 feet. A few weeks back in December, we had a 2-inch rainfall, and the Missouri jumped 8 feet. So it's all just running directly off, and you see that goes all the way up into the Mississippi and Missouri main stems there, where it all starts. So, next graphic. Blue dots, if you look at the legend on the bottom, blue dots are greater than 90% above normal. This is stream flow in the rivers. So look, northern Missouri, northern Illinois, not too bad, but if you look at everything on the Missouri, et cetera, you see an awful lot of blue dots on the Missouri. And then also importantly, When you look at southwest Missouri, you look at the streams that feed Bagnell Dam. You see an awful lot of blue there too. So we are still consistently running greater than 90% percentile of stream flow for so far this year. So it's expected to continue. This weird looking graph, the green is the average stream flow for the Missouri River, and you see at the top there, that's Herman. The hydrologist kind of likes Herman because that's Herman's the first gauge after you catch the Gasconade and the Osage coming in. So essentially, most of the water that's going to be coming into Missouri, is above Herman. So they like that graph. So green is normal. You see the blue there, that's the 90th to the 95th percentile. The black dotted line there to the right, that's the 95th percentile. The solid black line you can see for all of 2019 and the first 2 months of this year, we've been running in the 90th percentile, almost dead center on the 95th percentile of water. So obviously we've been running a lot of water down the Missouri River. No big surprise there either. But that is the prediction for the rest of the year as well. So go a little more just to show you a little more what they're talking about. This is snowfall departure above normal. So blues are a lot of snowfall above normal inches of depth. You see a little bit of Iowa and a little bit of Nebraska, not too bad. But if you look up there on Sioux Falls, Aberdeen, where the Missouri begins, up there, the James River, et cetera, there's an awful lot of snow sitting up there. So that does not bode well. Same way when you look at, around Eau Claire, Rochester, all that, the Mississippi, there's an awful lot of snow there. Now, the really bad news, if you will, the 90-day precipitation outlook for March through May is expected to be right over us and right over the Missouri and Mississippi valleys above normal. So, in other words, we expect a lot of flooding. If you look at the orange dot there, that's minor flooding. That's they're expecting minor flooding for us. Herman, maybe a little bit more major flooding. And then just a little more graphic, blue is normal of like 60 years of data, if I recall. Blue would be the normal, and then you see the 21-foot, 26 is Herman. Ours are 20, 23, and 28 feet for those minor, moderate, and major. So, essentially it's the feet are different, but the graph would lay out the same. So you see the black is what is predicted, and that's predicted to be above normal and as far as flooding. So we are essentially going to have some flooding. John really likes this graph. It's a little hard to read. I think it's an engineer thing. But the deep blues and the aquas and all that stuff are the higher probabilities of exceedance, and even into the greens. The greens are the 25 to 50. I guess the aquas there, the 50 to 75. It's pretty obvious we're going to get around at least the minor flooding. And when you look at the prediction, this only goes out to the end of, or the middle of April, actually. But there's high confidence we're going to get some minor to moderate flooding on the Missouri River.
All right. Thank you.
Any questions?
Mark, in comparison, with the weather we had this year, 19 and now, and it's not over with yet, but I think if you compare it to 16, didn't we have a flood in 16?
We did have some flooding in 16, but not as bad as we had in 19.
17?
17 is
yeah,
when,
16 and 17.
May of 17, we had flooding.
Well, it would have been 16 into 17, yeah. But I see that happening again.
It's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
We can be out there, so it's, let's hope they're wrong. But all indications from all the data there, the indications are we're going to have flooding. The end result is, the flooding on the river is one thing, but, we have some projects that we've been trying to get finished, trying to get the bridge project finished, trying to get the trail finished.
What year did we start the bridge?
I'm sorry? Yeah, we're tied
MoDOT.
into it.
MoDOT started the bridge,
But
2016.
unfortunately, it doesn't appear to bode well for those projects getting done.
I would add one more thing. Last year at a pavement conference I went to, they said there was a lot of, with the flooding and the sustained flooding on the Missouri River, the suppliers for material, raw material, sand specifically, a lot of sand comes out of the Missouri, Mississippi River for your asphalt plants, your concrete plants, those type of things. And there was a big shortage in getting essentially dry sand for asphalt. So a lot of large federal projects actually got pushed back towards the end of the year because it was just hard to even make asphalt. And that would also bode that the price would go up, fluctuates with oil and just raw materials. So, they were discussing about how they were going to handle that into the future. We were able to run sand out of Washington for a lot longer, I think, some of the other sand plants on the Missouri, but, and they brought that up. But it's not just flooding, it causes ripple effects all the way throughout the whole construction industry, so.
Yeah, the answer, going back to, it was 16, it was 17. May 5th, I think it was, we set the 5th highest crest on the Missouri River back in May 5th or May 7th of 17.
17.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
You don't feel bad.
Is there anyone else?
You feel good?
Tony?
Good evening, council. We don't have a whole lot of exciting things for the street department other than a few potholes, a little bit of concrete work, but next week we will be grinding our brush pile down at the recycle center. Hanson's won the bid on that at $23,750, so if you're interested in seeing it, stop by and visit.
Are we, the potholes, we have a lot more potholes than we normally have.
About the same. It's just being able to get to them. When it rains so many days in a row, you don't have time to get out and get them patched. So if we can get a couple good dry days, we get patched on them and get caught up on them. Unfortunately, they just pop back out. First time we
About
get some
salt
snow.
pile. Salt pile, doing all right?
Doing good.
On potholes, I mean, you're running pavement lives about midway through their lifespan, so I would anticipate an uptick in some potholing over the next couple of years until we can, get transition over and get those streets taken care of. So, streets aren't new, they're not old, they're kind of midlife. So.
Any questions of Tony?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council comments?
Any comments?
We do have an executive session that we'll try to go ahead and get before we start the next council meeting at 7.
Public vote on whether or not to hold a closed meeting to discuss personnel, legal, or real estate matters pursuant to Section 610.021 RSMO 2000. Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Obermark?
Aye.
Pettit?
Yes.
Cornia?
Yes.
Sulentrop? Wessels?
Okay, we're